host of the Gridiron.
The hiring of Schoen cost us getting Harbaugh. Interesting, because you kind of knew that, with Schoen, right? Well, obviously weren't working out. It's kind of like the package deal, shall we say, right? Because Schoen came in, and of course he wanted to bring a Daboll with him, right? And at the time, a lot of us were very, very happy. Let's not forget. The roster was in a shambles, right? Our cap situation was just ungodly. We couldn't even afford to keep Bradbury around. We could have done probably what the Eagles what the Eagles do. That's why they built such a good team, bringing all these stars in and just writing them up for whatever they want. What do you want? Take one. Okay, yeah, we'll give you that. Yeah, we'll just put 312 void years on the end of your contract, so we'll just pay you, hundreds of years down the road. We'll keep paying. Yeah, come on in. So, when Schoen came in, he didn't want to do that because he didn't want to just keep bringing these guys in and paying them. So, so at the way a lot of GMs go by, they're over the cap, right? So you got to let somebody go. That's not the Eagle way. That's why they have such a good team. But most teams, so we were in cap hell. So instead of just restructuring a lot of guys' contracts and just putting void years on the end of everything and just pushing all the money down the road and all that, and how to let Bradbury go. So we were, cap hell, whatever you want to call it. The roster had a lot of holes to it, not a lot of depth, right? And then you go out and you go 9-7-1 and you win a playoff game. It's like, you'd have to admit, of course, there'll always be people out there, regardless. Oh, I knew it wasn't going to last. I knew we were gonna stink after. I didn't say we were going to go to the Super Bowl, but I had a little optimism going. I must admit, I drank the Kool-Aid, right? So you go 9-7-1 with not a phenomenal roster, cap, and all that stuff and everything, and you go to the playoffs and win a playoff game, and even had Daniel Jones looking good and everything, right? But of course, since then, obviously, things have not quite been so well. And meanwhile, Harbaugh come in and they lost their last two, right? The Chargers, but they said they're 8-6, but I think they were 5-12 last year. I gotta find it here. So where are we at here? Falcons is the Chargers. There we go. Los Angeles Chargers. So they're 8-6 this year. Last year, they're 5. Last year, they were 5-12. But you got to look at it. This year, obviously, you got to get. That's a good division, except for the Raiders, right? But I'll tell you what, Peyton. Tell you what, man. Let's say. I'll tell you what, just for me, I'd have to give him strong considerations for the coach of the year. You look at all the other teams that have really good records and all that stuff and everything, but what Peyton's doing with the Broncos and that quarterback, strong consideration for coach of the year, for me anyway. Right, so the division that the Chargers are in is, with the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Chargers. Three really good teams. But so the Chargers were at one time, they beat the Bengals. They were 7-3. Unfortunately, they lost a tough one to the Ravens. They lost by 7 points to the Ravens. Then they beat the Falcons. But then they lost, of course, once again, it's the second tough one. They lost 17-10 to the Chiefs. and then they lost 19-17 to the Chiefs. So they lost 2 tough games to the Chiefs, but they've lost 3 of the last 4. One was to the Ravens, one was to the Chiefs, and the other one was to the Bucks. They got blown out by the Bucks. I mean, I don't know. The Bucks resurgence here. I don't know. Bucks put up 40 points. Wow. But I mean, they were 7-3. They're 8-6. They're playing the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Raiders. So they got 3 games left. They're 8-6. There's a good chance. I'll just throw it out there. They're playing the Broncos at home. Okay, so that'd be a tough one. And they did beat the Broncos in Denver. So then they got to play in New England. Then they got to play in against the Raiders, right? The final game of the season. So I mean, give maybe 2 more wins, maybe. So I mean, quite possibly, they might go 10-7. They were 5-12, right? Last year, 5-12, and now quite possibly this year they could be 10-7. Worst case scenario, 9-8. Out of those last 3 games, I got to give them at least 1 win. Right, between the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Patriots, I got to give them at least 1 win. So you figure no matter what, they'll have a winning record with Harbaugh there. They'll be 9-8. Worst case, the best case scenario, they win all 3. I mean, or middle of the road, they finish 10-7. Best case scenario, they can finish 11-6. They beat 3 teams 3 winnable teams. So regardless, just for me, if you were just to say worst case scenario, for me, they would finish 9-8. So, they were 5-12 last year, and they went to 9-8. Right. Once again, give the guy another year draft in and whatever like this, get the Harbaugh away and all of that stuff. But that's a good division. That's going to be a tough division. I mean, if the Broncos can stay, right, a good contending team, of course, with Reed and Mahomes there, they'll be a top contender for years to come. But unfortunately, possibly, it looked like the Giants lost out on possibly getting Harbaugh because hiring of Joe Schoen cost them Jim Harbaugh as the coach. So, I mean, you'll look at, you can also kind of, well, look what Harbaugh is doing to the Chargers, in his first year. Well, it's the same thing that what Daboll did with the Giants. 9-7-1. Right, for the Giants, playoff, right? You can almost say the same thing with Harbaugh. Maybe there might be 10-7, quite possibly playoffs, maybe. So, but the one thing is that with Harbaugh, right? It's like wherever he's gone, pretty much he's been a winner. I can't remember when he was the coach of Stanford. I can't remember. They didn't have a phenomenal record, but one of the things they did though was I can't remember if they snapped USC's winning streak in college. USC with I think when Carroll was there, they were just beating. USC was really, really good. Of course, there was the Bush push right against Notre Dame, which now is the Tush push, I guess. But USC was just phenomenal. And Carroll was there. Whew. And I know Stanford wound up beating them one of those years, and I think it snapped a winning streak for USC. Now, when Harbaugh was there, he didn't have Stanford 11-1 every year and going for the Rose Bowl. It wasn't like that. But he did well enough where he got a shot at San Francisco, and San Francisco, right, went to the back-to-back championships. Right, they obviously the one against the Giants in 2011. Now, I can't remember the punt returner's name. He was the backup punt returner for the 49ers. If he didn't fumble the ball, I think 2 times, maybe the Giants don't win that game. But I'm glad he did. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, sweet baby Jesus. Right, Giants win the Super Bowl. But that was a heck of a game. Tough heck of a game and all and everything. But he had the 49ers, a good team. Then the following year, they went to the Super Bowl. They lost in the lights out game against his brother. right? That's when the lights went out. I mean, are you kidding me? Anyway, but right? Then he goes to Michigan. Now, there was allegations of maybe whatever him tampering or whatever. I don't know. I mean, if he did it, I'm sure other people did it as well too, or whatever he did. I'm sure other teams did it as well too. But he they won him a national championship, right? They're not even. I don't even know what the record is this year. It was 6-6 or maybe 7-5 or something like that or whatever. So I mean, they went from being undefeated. I think they were 15-0. I think last year with the well, let's see. Let's take a look. Let's go 2024. Michigan Wolverines. I do have to give Wink some props here because one thing. What was it? He made a comment, a jab at the Giants, and they were like 2-7, I think, at one point. He made a comment about the Giants, and then I went on made a video about him. But I tell you what, the last few games of the season, Wink's defense was doing pretty darn good. So, but let's say they were 7-5. They're I don't know. This is from Sports Reference. They're 51st out of 134 teams. So they were 7-5. So they went with Harbaugh as the coach from 15-0 to 7-5. Now, of course, they'll be in a bowl. I think what you got to do nowadays, because once again, it's all about what? It's all about the Benjamins. I think all you got to do is win a coin toss. And you're bowl eligible. You can be 0-95 and you're bowl eligible, baby. Or you got to get a first down during the course of the season or something. And everybody's bowl eligible. I'm even bowl eligible. I don't even have a team. It's called the Tampon Bowl. It's 3 days after New Year's Day. It's in Texas, El Paso, Texas. I'm just going to go down there and play against another team, the Tampon Bowl. So I'm bowl eligible. I got an electric football game and I gained a first down, so I was bowl eligible. So, but anyway, Harbaugh was 15-0 with Michigan, won them a national championship. Right now, he left, and they went from 15-0 to 7-5. Right, so not saying he's going to take the Chargers back to the Super Bowl or anything, but he's wherever he's been a winner. Right, he has been a winner. Let me see if I can pop this up here. Previous year. Let's see here. All right, Jim Harbaugh. Let's see if it pops his coaching record up here. Okay, yeah, here we go. All right, with Stanford. Okay. Oh, well, my bad. He took over Stanford in 2007, and he was 4-8. 2008, they went to 5-7. They only improved one game. 2009, they went to 8-5, and they lost in the Sun Bowl. 2010, his final year at Stanford, he was 12-1. Maybe that was the year, and they won in the Orange Bowl. And I guess they finished 4th in the nation. Let me see if that was the year. Let's see if it pops. I don't know if it's gonna pop that up or not. Let's see here. That was the year that he beat USC. Does it have their Stanford statistics? Schedule and results. Here we go. All right, let's see here. What did they beat USC here? They won 37-35. They beat Stanford. USC. Stanford beat USC. Stanford was number 16 in the nation. And they beat USC at home 37-35. That was a huge Huge win. Their only loss that season, they lost 52-31 to Oregon. But yeah, they beat everybody else. They had a great, and they went to the bowl and they beat Virginia Tech 40-12, and they finished 12-1. Yeah. So I mean, so wherever Harbaugh has been, then he obviously he left. So from 20, let's see here, 2011, I guess it was, to 2015. So 11, 12, so to 14. I'm sorry, for 2011 to 2014. So for 4 years he was at San Francisco, right? And then he went to Michigan in 2015, and he was in Michigan for quite some time, from 2015 to last season. So he was at Michigan for a while. I mean, but in the 4 years, so 2011, right? He was at the championship game. 2012, they went to the Super Bowl, and then 13 and 14. I think at 14, I think he started losing the locker room or something like that, and then they're like, "Well, let's get rid of him." So, but wherever he's been, right, he said his final game at Stanford, his final season at Stanford, they finished 4th in the nation. He took the 49ers for 4 years. He took them to a championship game and then a Super Bowl, and then in Michigan, right? He had to win a national championship. Took him a while. It's obviously it's not an easy thing to do, especially when you got the SEC but I mean Clemson was great for a while. Now you got Georgia, Alabama. That might be a thing in the past as far as winning a ton of championships. Maybe because Saban's not there anymore. But the SEC is going to be just phenomenal, right? Ohio State's always good. So I mean that's not an easy thing to do. Michigan and win the championship. So he's been a winner wherever he's been. So. But let me read this article real fast once again, and just guys to show you. As the Giants headed into the 2023 season, they thought they had nailed the general manager and head coaching positions with the hiring of Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll to a 5-year contracts. The Giants were coming off the 9-7-1 2022 regular season finish and a trip to the playoffs that included a win on the road, too. Shane appeared to be fully in charge, and Daboll was the darling of the football world, being named NFL's Coach of the Year, which is true. But a lot has gone downhill since then. The Giants' juggernaut has dropped out of the sky and are in a death spiral. Yes. They are 8-23 since the start of the 2023 season and going nowhere fast. So basically, they win 1 out of every 4 games. So out of every 4 games, they're 1-3. They do not have a franchise quarterback of the future on their roster, and many are questioning the competence of the entire organization from the ownership on down. Paul Schwartz of the Post, who has been covering the team for over 30 years, believes that the Giants make changes this offseason. It may not be a clean sweep. They may decide to keep both Shane and Daboll, or they may keep one and let the other one go. Veteran sports author and columnist Ian O'Connor looked back at the move to hire Shane and Daboll and the other options the Giants had available to them with back then. The Giants loved Adam Peters as a GM candidate, but loved Joe Schoen just a bit more. O'Connor posted on X, they thought John Harbaugh's guy in Baltimore, Joe Hortiz, was a bit nervous in his interview, but he was going to hire Jim Harbaugh as the Giants head coach. What could have been, but he was a bit nervous. That's why you get those interviews, right? That's why they also, you get those one-on-ones, before the draft, right? You get the quarterback sitting down, right? You get to put stuff up on the board. All right, so now the X is the Y is the X. Take the Z, take the cross, bring him over here. Now we're gonna, you got set it 2 high, you got 1 high, you got a cover over here, you got this guy over here. Now, what are you gonna do? The quarterback, what? Not too good. If the guy can handle it, just bang that stuff. Oh, well, it's easy. I'm gonna look over here. I'm gonna come this, but I'm gonna come back over here. But I'm gonna fire. Try to. If he goes over there, I'm gonna lead this guy over here. Yeah, that's what he wants. That's why you got those one-on-ones, right? That's why you got your interviews, right? The guy seems a little bit nervous. Maybe he's not quite the candidate. Maybe he's not ready. But Peters was with San Francisco at the time as general manager with John Lynch's assistant. He was hired this past offseason by Washington to be their GM. The Commanders are 9-5 this season and headed toward the playoffs. Hortez was the Ravens' director of player personnel and is now the general manager of the Chargers and did indeed hire Jim Harbaugh as his head coach. Chargers are 8-6 this season and currently are in the 7th playoff spot in the AFC. And they have 3 winnable games. So there's a good chance that Harbaugh, in his first season as head coach, take a team from 5-12. They had the same quarterback. I don't remember what their games were like last year. I don't know what their injury situation was. That I don't know. They could have been totally decimated by injuries. But they had the same quarterback last year, and they're 5-12. Same quarterback this year, different coach, and they're going to go possibly to the playoffs, maybe 10-7. So it says, while these other teams are flourishing, the Giants are floundering. Yes, what could have been? Well, I mean, once again, it's always, hindsight's always 20/20, right? Let's see. Let's read a couple lines from this one. It says the Giants owner John Mara previously stated that he doesn't anticipate making any front office changes this offseason, but that was before the Giants fell to 2-12, tied for the NFL's worst record. Yet the Giants got here based on decisions they made long ago, such as hiring, then retaining Joe Schoen as the team's general manager and leading decision maker. According to the Giants insider Ian O'Connor, there were several GM candidates they liked during the hiring process before settling on Schoen. They reportedly loved Adam Peters, who is now acts as the Commanders' GM. However, the Giants also felt John Harbaugh's guy, Joe Hortez, was a bit nervous in his interview, and they knew Hortez wanted to hire Harbaugh. As much as the Giants liked Peters and Hortez, they loved Joe Schoen just a bit more. And they say the rest is history. The Giants have stuck with Schoen in 3 seasons now, and Hortez did get his chance to operate as GM of an NFL team. But it didn't come until the start of the 2024 season when the Chargers hired him. Hortez did then hire Jim Harbaugh. Now the Chargers have emerged as one of the best teams in the AFC, and the Giants are one of the worst or the worst. I mean, you can obviously whatever you want to call it, right? They're the worst or one of the 2 worst. I mean, however you want to look at it. Between them, that's a toss-up. I mean, I got to give Carolina some. Give them some kudos. I mean, they're not an unbelievable team, but they started off really, really bad. I'll tell you what, got to give Carolina some credit. They're not doing too bad, right? And it looks like the Patriots, even maybe as bad as they are, it looks like they might have found the quarterback in the future. If the Bears can ever get their coaching situation solved, they might have their quarterback in the future. Then you talk about the Jets, or maybe not. They don't have their quarterback in the future, meaning long-term future, right? They don't have a coach, the GM. They got nothing. So, but the Giants are easily in the bottom 2 or 3 of the league as far as we just, to be true, to be fair, we had our 5th different not different, but 5th quarterback going in there, right? Jones, DeVito, Locke, DeVito, Boyle, right? 4th different quarterback, 5 different quarterback, right? All the teams that I know of has had that out there. Certainly not the Chargers, right? Certainly, there's no team currently in the playoff picture that's had that. Nope. So all the injuries the Giants have had. So that's hurt the Giants quite a bit as well too. We need to find ourselves our future quarterback of the future, right? And it all starts with that. We got to find ourselves a quarterback now. Whoever that is, that's Schoen, and Daboll, or that Shane and not Daboll and somebody else comes in, or whatever. I don't know, but we gotta find our quarterback. Then you just start working from there, right? But there's no denying without question that Harbaugh is wherever he goes, he's a winner. So look for him as long as he wants to continue to coach and all of that. He might have a down year here or there or whatever, but I look for him to have the Chargers as he's got the quarterback, right? So look for him to be a competing team. He likes to run the ball, right? That's why they drafted Alt in the first round. They could have took other guys. Could have took Neighbors, right? Guy's pretty good. Imagine Herbert to Neighbors. I'm sure Neighbors would love that. I'm sure Herbert would love that. I mean, Neighbors got 90 receptions with our quarterbacks. Are you kidding me? What he could have maybe done with Herbert, right? So, but what coulda, shoulda, woulda, whatever. But it is what it is, right?